Welcome to our podcast. Tonight, we are in episode number 4.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, what are we going to talk about tonight?
So tonight we're going to talk about the initiation of beginning the journey of yoga teacher training. And this is a subject that I suggested we talk about actually prior to our training program, which began last Friday. So it started about 6 days ago. And I just thought it would be nice before the students began to just think ourselves on like what is the meaning of it for them, and then also for ourselves to get in the mood. But that didn't happen. We didn't record the podcast last week. We went ahead and went into the training program, and now we have like a weekend and a couple of days underneath us, and now it's time to reflect on it.
Yeah. This, I want to talk about this beautiful shake that Brynn made me. She just made me a smoothie. I ate steak and bread, which I don't usually eat bread, but I've been eating a lot of bread, or semi-regularly, and I was really hungry. And so Brynn said, "Have you had a smoothie today, Michael?" And I said, "No, I haven't." And she said, "I'll make you one."
Yeah.
What a sweetie.
I love to make things for you.
And then it's now, I'm seeing it's getting in the way of the camera a little bit, so I need to be conscious of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then this is just some puerty.
Puerty.
Yeah, that you made way earlier, and then I made some more later.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So teacher training. So we had a great last weekend of the first weekend of teacher training, a good 12 hours.
Yeah, so we had 4 hours Friday, 4 hours Saturday, 4 hours Sunday, and then we also met for 2 hours on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And of course, with everything happening right now, the whole program is over Zoom, which, I mean, at first it seems like, man, that's going to be really hard, but it's not that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's a quick moment of getting used to it, and then once we're used to it, of course there's a drawback of not being able to see the students' bodies up close. But I know that the way we're going to work with that is just, having them do poses one at a time in front of the screen during workshopping.
Yeah, and I feel like we have a really good group. It's all females, and then it's myself. So I've got to cope with a lot of estrogen in this party, and that's great. It seems to be a yoga thing anyways, although more and more it's not. There's more guys that come to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a really cool group of ladies who have all sorts of experience and is a pretty big age range, I would say.
Is it? Yeah, I guess you have
it's like
19 to 65.
It's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like whenever we do Facebook ads and they ask you 18 to 65 plus is the general Facebook ad thing, and you're like, no, we got to target this a little bit more. Anyways. Yeah, it's a huge range. But yeah, it's a cool group because they totally understand what we're doing too right now with going through Zoom. Like the fact that we had to do this, nobody really said, well, I don't want to do this because it's on Zoom. People were super prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it offers a unique look into it, or a unique experience in teacher training, because I feel like we can actually get more information done. Like there doesn't have to be as many bathroom breaks, or maybe focusing solely on...
we don't have like lunch times integrated in. So there have been hours in the teacher training before that are just like counted at lunchtime,
Mm-hmm.
and now that's out. And another huge advantage is that we're meeting. Not only are we meeting every week on Sunday, but we're also adding in this Wednesday night component, because we figured since everybody's home, it would be easier for everybody to meet more often. So now twice a week I can check in with them and give them new information every time that we check in.
Yeah.
So they're just constantly digesting the information. So in that way, it actually is going to be better. But really just an evolution. And I think the whole Wednesday night phone call thing is something that, now that I'm starting to experience it, we'll probably keep it for the future training programs.
I think it's great. It's a good check-in.
And actually the governing body over yoga and yoga training schools has recently changed their hours, their allowance hours, to be able to have up to 40 hours online.
Yeah.
Right now at this very moment, people can have 100% of their hours online because we're all in quarantine. But even after all of that, up to 40 hours can be experienced through Zoom.
Yeah.
Or even pre-recorded classes. But I like the Zoom thing.
Yeah, totally. It's been good.
Yeah, so I guess like getting into the meat of what it is that I wanted to talk about, I'm actually trying to think how to approach the subject, because I'm talking about like the initiation of coming into a training program. And what are you laughing at?
I like that word, initiation. It reminds me of like somebody coming into a 70s cult, or like a I don't know, initiation into like a fraternity. That's what it reminds me of.
Okay. That makes sense. Well, I
Just
mean,
the
I guess,
word, not the
no,
program,
I mean,
but the
it's,
word. It's a good word. It's just that's
I
the
think
things that remind
the
me.
word itself is very powerful.
Yes.
And so I guess like in its initial context, initiation is associated, with some type of club. Which,
totally.
Like you're saying, fraternity.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, in a way, it's definitely a club. Whenever these programs happen, and I've seen so many of them now. I mean, I've seen a lot through the studio, but then I worked with other schools prior to that. The students become extremely close.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like for this period of months. In this case, I believe it's 5 months. It's March to the beginning of August. It's almost like these people become your best friends for the 5 months that you're doing it. And then sometimes they're lifelong friends. I guess it's different with everybody.
Yeah, and I'm just being funny. Or maybe you didn't find that funny. But no, I'm the word itself, I do think that there are certain initiations that people go through, and I use the word initiation too, in their like inner spiritual quest. So the things that we can do on the outside will also reflect the things that are happening on the inside. So people are coming to a teacher training for some reason. It might be like we have a woman right now who I can remember in the teacher training who said she had seen this for like the past 4 or 5 years, but said finally, this year, this time, I'm going to do it. And it's the perfect time for her to do it too. I don't necessarily think that if you give yourself the opportunity 4 or 5 years ago that all of a sudden, you're in some sort of advanced place. Like sometimes I think what happens is people say, oh, if I would have done that 5 years ago, like if I would have invested in that stock 5 years ago, then I would have been a millionaire or something. It's like, well, maybe you would have invested in the 26 million other stocks that would have left you dead broke. So I don't know.
I think what you're trying to say is that at every moment in time, we're investing in our life experience.
Yeah.
And so the life experience is not lost in the years that we don't come to whatever the thing is. And I know you and I have had this conversation multiple times about jiu-jitsu, because we're both in our 30s and we're coming to jiu-jitsu for the first time in our 30s. And so then, there's people around us, a few people around us that are black belts and brown belts that have been doing it for years. And I mean, I feel like this is actually, that's one of the first things that I've come to, and I haven't felt a sensation of loss. Like, oh, I wish I would have started this, 10 years ago so that I could be a black belt now, because I appreciate the life experience that I've created up into this moment. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I guess just to look at the counter argument of what you're talking about, if somebody's just been wasting their time,
sure,
then not really gaining life experience that they consider valuable or something that they've learned from or built upon, then maybe they could have come to this or whatever else is the personal development thing years ago.
Yeah, and sometimes people need to kind of put themselves in a hole as well and be like, well, man, this is the only way to dig myself out.
Yeah,
Just
they
like
have to.
like an alcoholic, like in alcoholism and in the 12-step program. It's like the only way that you're not going to be an alcoholic anymore is to have some sort of spiritual experience. Doesn't mean that it has to be some mystical vision, but it's just the fact that you believe in a higher power of whatever the heck that means to you, of some sort. And that was Carl Jung's whole thing.
Yeah, but yeah, so not everybody requires going down into the hole.
No, totally not. And I don't even think, I don't know a person that has taken our teacher training yet who has been like totally in the hole and is like, oh my God, I'm in the depths of despair. I need to take this teacher training. That's not usually it at all. It's a little, it's way more mild than that.
Yeah, I mean, you're making me think of when I did take my first training program. I was 20 and had like a spiritual collapse, so to say. I actually think that it happened a year and a half before my training program. And so, like, internally, I did feel like I was in the depths of despair. And I even remember when I went to the training program in the opening circle and they asked why everybody was there. And I said, like, I needed some type of spiritual foundation and that I was looking for it through the yoga practice. And I mean, it certainly provided it for me. Now that's 14. Now it's 14 years later. And I was actually reflecting on this recently with a friend from college, my friend Andrea, who I just went to go visit. She was talking about, like, we met each other first semester freshman year, and it was the summer of my sophomore year that I went to the yoga training. And so her and I were really good friends, and I came back at the beginning of junior year, and she told me and I actually, maybe I vaguely remember this, but she told me when I came back to school the next semester that I told her, like, Andrea, I just went to yoga training and I'm so different. Like, and apparently I also said to her, I can totally see your aura right now. Did I tell you that?
No.
Oh my God, I was actually like mortified when she said that to me.
That is great.
It actually makes me more compassionate for others that I see in a similar space, like just having received this gold nugget of information and life experience, and then like putting the nugget and themselves like up on this pedestal like place, like, I'm changed, I see the world differently, like, come over here, let me show you how I see the world. And
yeah, I don't know if we could be friends at 20. I'm not sure.
But the other thing that she said to me was, like, you know, you went and you did your yoga thing, and then you came back, and everything was like yoga, yoga, yoga. Like, that was my life. And
yeah.
And what she was saying was that she wasn't sure at that point, like, is it going to stick? Or is that going to be just, like, another fad thing where I'm like, oh, yoga. And now I'm like,
yeah, oh,
rock climbing or whatever it is. But obviously it has stuck, because now that was 14 years ago, and it still seems like to be what I eat, sleep, and breathe. So
I feel like you're good at sticking with things. And I don't know if you've been like that your whole life, but you're good, from what I notice, at taking something on and then making it habitual or a routine or something that you pursue.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe I was just like so gung-ho about it that it seemed like, because you and I have also talked multiple times that when we are like in an organization and we see someone come in and they're like, yeah, like, I love this, I'm gonna come every day.
Yeah, never
then
works
it's
out.
Like they come for like 1 month and then you never see them again.
Totally.
Because they come up and then they crash back down. So yeah. I think that's what she was saying, that it seemed like where I was, but obviously not.
Yeah, no.
Anyways, there was something shifting back towards, I don't know, like the whole initiation thing. As we were talking about that, I was reflecting on, well, like, what is part of this initiation? And for me, I actually think one of the main initiations that happens through this process is the internalization of responsibility. Mm-hmm. Like, I actually think that's like one of the strongest components of it. When somebody says, I'm going to go through a teacher training program, and in this case a yoga teacher training program, they have to, that now they're suddenly taking a path which they've been following as a student and saying that they're willing to learn it on such a level that they can give it to other people. And that like creates a necessary reorientation mentally towards their subject, which forces them to take more responsibility for what it is that they're doing. So and like you were talking about, people have these internal initiations which are marked by things that we can see in the external world. And it's actually a celebration of an initiation or a graduation in the external world. I believe it's very important also for the internal integration of it, because what happens is like when we celebrate, when other people see what it is that we're doing, there's this witnessing that happens. And this is also a conversation that we've had where I remember I was talking to you about like how important I feel like the process of being witnessed is. That's like one of the main power points of being in a community and sharing with people what it is that we're going through. We get to be witnessed in a way that perhaps we haven't been able to hold space for ourselves. Mm-hmm. Other people can hold it for us. You're tensing up.
Am I?
Yeah. Just tell me what you're thinking as I say this.
Oh. I see it more and more, that the importance of being witnessed. I see that. I think part of my whole nature that I feel like I'm working on and have been taking step by step is just to like do to go, okay, here's the thing I need to do. And then I go and I do it to learn how to do it, and then figure out ways to make that process faster. And so for me, there's no time for being recognized for it. And I feel like that's been a thing for me since I was very little. I didn't really care about being recognized for that. I shouldn't say all the way. There's definitely a part inside me that was like, yes, like I just accomplished this, which is awesome. But there's also maybe more of this stoic side of me that's like, I don't really care, and I'm just moving on to the next thing. But I feel like in community, in yoga community, in other spiritual types of communities, that to be witnessed in something, especially by a teacher of yours, is important. Like I feel like that was always important to me. The person that was teaching me was, who has been critiquing me, is finally saying like, you deserve this in some way. That's the one that I really like to be recognized by.
Well, I guess as you're talking about it, I have so many thoughts, and I'm glad you're sharing. Mm-hmm. One is that the witnessing doesn't just have to be, although I did say it in this context, like initiation or graduation, it doesn't just have to be at those big moments, because truly, like, the big moments happen in little breakthroughs that are occurring throughout the entire process of the training program. Mm-hmm. So I just even mean like somebody has some little revelation, and I feel like it makes it more real if we're in the midst of a training session, somebody has a revelation. It may be something as simple as like, oh, like my hips are supposed to look like that, or it may be something much deeper. They may realize some deep-seated pattern in which they approach the world and have been approaching the world for decades that's been holding them back. And to see it, and then to share it, and to let other people like share with you in this like revelation.
Yeah, I feel like that's different. That's not an initiation or graduation. That's being vulnerable about what you're going through, being able to say it out loud to other people. And then not necessarily that people are like, well, try this, or like, I know that this works, or man, I don't want to be in their energy field, or whatever. Right. Just that they're listening to you, and they're there for you, and can empathize with you. And it helps me whenever I do that, or what I've noticed from others too, move through the thing a lot faster, as opposed to just keeping it in my head.
Yes.
For 2 weeks, then I'm like, going up against the grinder, and I can't move through it it takes a lot longer.
I mean, and that's really the heart of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about witnessing. I mean this process of holding space, where people are holding space for each other and they're witnessing each other's growth, and everything that you just described with, like, if when other people are there for you to talk about it with, something different happens. It's like, and I notice this too. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is a universal thing. If I've been like going over something in my head a lot, if I finally have to say it out loud to somebody else, then like another part of my brain turns on to be like looking at it even from different perspectives as I'm saying it out loud to somebody else, because now I'm automatically anticipating, well, what are they going to think when I say it to them? Whereas I won't necessarily be anticipating that if I'm saying it in my head. But yeah, all of that is just the process of holding space, which, I mean, this is another component of the teacher training program. I talked about responsibility, but then there's this whole witnessing or holding space or growing together. And then the other piece of it is the accountability piece. Is that, like, well, I guess people make the commitment to go through the program, but then we create a structure that causes them to be accountable. We give them homework every week. They practice teaching. They practice teaching not only outside of the program, but inside of the program too.
And they don't just teach yoga, which I like, or yoga asana to those other yogis out there who know what we're talking about by saying asana. But yoga to the modern world, to our world, means like the postures, the movements, hot yoga class. And those things are great and wonderful and what most people are going to be teaching. But I think even deeper, at least for me going through this program too, was the fact that I get to learn how to meditate and breathe and how to teach other people to meditate and breathe. And it's not just like you're saying, oh, now I'm a meditation teacher and I'm going to go show people how to meditate and breathe, and like that's my mission in life and I'm on a pedestal or something about it. Like, that's not it at all. What it is by the fact that I have to think about it in my head and talk somebody through how to do something, I learn it so much better. Because now I'm visualizing. I have to tell you, you know nothing about it, but I have to visualize in my head and communicate those words in a very essential way and in a very specific way so that you get it. So that's what I like about it, is that I become a better meditator by teaching other people how to meditate. A better at breathing, all that stuff. Yeah. What else?
Oh, I mean, I guess, gosh.
There's so much else to talk about.
Well, I mean, there was something I wanted to talk about, but then I kind of lost it as I was listening to you, so.
Yeah. Totally dominated the conversation.
No, you're not dominating it.
Very zealous about what I was saying.
So I mean, one thing that I was like, oh, what do I want to talk about? I guess just looking at it from the perspective of teaching the program, I mean, it's also, I love it because it holds me accountable in my learning process. And I mean, we have this curriculum that we teach, although I mean, I have the liberty every time that I teach the curriculum to decide, oh, I really want to dive into this subject more right now because that's what's interesting me, or that's what's relevant right now. And so, like, for example, this whole past weekend, we've started diving in very early into the mechanics of breathing. I mean, we always start with like a certain series of breathing exercises that are very simple and accessible. But I've taken a lot of extra time to do outside reading in my preparation for the lectures on breathing. And it feels super relevant now. And like, we also have gone early into the discussion of the pranavayus. Like, that was actually something that I brought up to them the very first night of the program. Whereas before, like, I might have introduced that like halfway through the program. I'm not really sure. But it just feels like what people really need at this moment in time. And people always really need this, but because we're in more of this hot box of feeling fear and anxiety, people need to be able to connect in to their breath. They need to be able to use meditation that feels accessible, that connects them to their body. So this pranavayus meditation is having people use visualization and breathing techniques to feel these more subtle energies. And we've had a really positive response.
Yeah, we have. And I just want to talk about something that you said, which was what people needed right now because of this hot box of fear and insecurity about the state of the environment right now, the state of the world. And you told me after the 12-hour weekend, you said that whole weekend, like, I felt like I was in a bubble of just learning and of yoga, and I totally forgot about what was happening in the outside world. And I know that happens every time we do one of these programs, because I feel it too. And maybe it's a little bit less conscious because this whole thing in the world isn't going on at those times previously. But this type of stuff definitely brings, or the whole COVID-19 thing brings up a more conscious awareness of, like, wow, I'm really grateful for this yoga teacher training program. Wow, I'm really grateful that, we have such an awesome core group of people that we're working with. Wow, I'm really grateful for you, for the apprentices, for the other teachers, like all of it, even though it's all online. It's actually, to me, kind of almost like I don't know, like going back to elementary school or something in a weird way. It's like a kid's, it's exciting. It's something new.
Because it's online.
Yeah. There's a newness to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was actually an incredibly magical part. Like, to me, it's almost, when I look back on it and was experiencing the weekend of 4 hours Friday, 4 hours Saturday, 4 hours Sunday, and then, like, of course, on top of those actual 4 hours, I'm putting in many hours outside of them in order to be well prepared to teach the students, that it's like we really did go somewhere else in our minds. And in that place, it's like we were able to be concentrated enough to really absorb the teachings of yoga. And I mean, this is actually what I'm talking about, is one of the main teachings of yoga, which is that, like, you have to decide what it is that you want to focus on. And once you decide what it is that you want to focus on, usually this is in the context of meditation, but what I'm talking about now is just living meditation. Once we decide what we want to focus on, then we need to, like, weed out the distractions and keep our attention on the focus. And this is actually like the, what's the word for a cure? Like, it's the remedy. It's the cure for, like, the anxiety, the fear, the depression. Because, I mean, someone might be sitting there saying, like, I'm experiencing all of these things. How do I get out of a state of fear? Well, you don't say, I need to get out of a state of fear. You decide where you want to put your attention. Like, you decide what you want to create. Mm-hmm. And so doing the teacher training program it's given me and you, and I know it's given the students as well, a place to hyper-focus their attention so they don't have all of this extra energy, like, being pulled from the outside from all of the fear and anxiety that's coming up.
Yeah. In Stoicism and in yoga as well, but in Stoicism, which I've been reading a lot more, they talk about these distracting energies, even the distracting habits of other people, the distracting ways of being of other people as things, and the distracting ways of us too. That these are actual, like, outside of the mind type of things, and we have the choice to allow that thing into our minds. That just, again, that image, that picture, put it into a different perspective to me. So, I mean, their whole thing with it too, the Stoics, is that it's not that person necessarily saying that thing. Like, they're two separate things. The person, the self of that person, and what they're saying. It's like that saying, whether it's negative or positive, is an actual separate thing, which I like. I can get on board with big time, Because if somebody's saying something to make you mad, piss you off, be shameful, it's to be able to objectify. I'm not saying I can do it, but to be able to objectify and to be able to say, well, that's not really that person saying that. Like, that's a separate thing. That's a hugely powerful tool, I feel like. Anyways, yeah. And the same goes with good. Like, you can let in the good stuff. So you can learn from a mentor or a teacher or just friends around you that have good stuff to say too, and allow the good stuff in, block out the bad, and soon enough, like, the good stuff is all that's flowing in through your mind.
So, I mean, I feel like as I'm listening to you talk about this, I'm processing it in my own way. And so then I'm like, what is a practical way of describing what you just said? And I mean, I guess it's going back to what I said, which is, so you said that he said that, like, we have a choice about what we allow into our minds.
Yeah.
But if somebody walks up to me and says, like, hey, you're a jerk, like, slap, it's not like
Totally.
I suddenly don't think about it anymore.
No.
But the way that I have a choice is preemptively deciding where I'm going to go and what I'm going to do and how I'm going to spend my day. So it's almost like through the process of visualization and then putting that visualization into action, now I've chosen so that, like, I'm less likely to even run into the person, or say if I do run into the person that's going to be a jerk to me, I am so into whatever it is that I'm doing. I'm so excited about the next thing that I'm getting onto that, like, this just rolls off of my back more easily.
Yeah, and I think that's practice. Like, that example, if someone says, you're a jerk, slap, that's an extreme example and would flare up my temper right away to react.
Well, I mean, you're not even, like, saying that specifically, but saying it without saying it. You know, like, just giving you, like, me, like, a mean look. Or
sure.
Like,
yeah, totally. Yeah. And it just kind of let it roll off because you're concentrated on something that, yes, absolutely.
It's like I don't even have the bandwidth to, like, put too much attention on this thing because I'm so hyper-focused on the other thing that I'm doing.
Yeah. And there's the other side of that, of finding something that you really enjoy, that you know is beneficial for you, and to direct the attention over there and to let that in. Let it in.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Which is a good, I know, but I'm just saying, like, you're letting that in. You're opening the door here, you're closing the door over here, to eventually just get more of that.
Yeah, and even as you say, like, the open door and the closed door, I just think about it. It's like you're running towards the thing that you want, and then it's just like you're flying past the other doors.
Totally.
They're just, like, blowing in the wind as you're going towards the thing.
Yes, I had a dream like that a few months ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, which was really cool. So, yes, definitely. Well,
I think that was good.
I think it was good too. Awesome. Episode 4, and we didn't record it with a phone either. So, this is just a YouTube episode, maybe a bonus episode.
Yeah.
We'll see. Cool. Thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed this conversation that went all over the place and then returned back to teacher training.
That's right. Good night.